Did you know that 7 million couples are barren, which means they can't have kids at all? 7 million couples. So it's not just 7 million people, like one person individually. It's pairs of two. There's 7 million of them that can't have children at all. So there's a lot of different ways to go about this. There's adoption. There's foster care where you can end up adopting, or there's foster care you can just take in needy kids and then send them back home. Or there's also surrogacy, which is what I'm going to tell you about. Surrogacy is when you bear a child on behalf of another couple. So say somebody came to me and asked if I would donate my own sperm and have his sperm and carry the baby, or I would just have an embryo placed in me and I would carry the baby and have a baby for them. There's artificial insemination by the man, and then there's also implantation of the embryo by a woman, which is what I just said. I would have an embryo implanted into me to have for a kid for another baby, or for another couple. The thing that I'm gonna talk about is it morally ethical, or should Christians be surrogates? Should Christians be a surrogate mother, or should we have surrogacy in order to have a child? A lot of people want their own child, and a lot of people want to have their own family. So this is definitely an option for them. But a lot of people want to have their own family, their own children, have it be theirs instead of adopting or having a foster kid where they adopt. They want something to be, whether they have the embryo pulled from both of them surgically and then they implant it into another woman, or if they have the mom and then a different dad but have the baby for them. So those are definitely different options to have their own kid with their blood. They don't want to be alone, just a mom and a dad. They want to have children, or a wife and a husband. They don't want to be alone. They want to have children and be able to see their kids be raised and have kids watch after them when they get old. That way they're not alone. You don't grow alone and be alone. When you get older, you're going to have kids and grandkids and things to make you happy and smile. We both could be surrogates, you and I, if we felt like we wanted to do something like that for people who couldn't have a child. We could definitely take on a kid and go through the 9-month pregnancy and have labor and give the kid over to the true, the surrogate couple. There are 2 different types of surrogacy. You can go to a special agency that specifies in surrogate mothers or surrogacy, things like that, but they'll tell you that there's gestational surrogacy, which is the surrogate mother carries the baby for you. It's not your biological kid, though. So that woman would have an embryo placed into her. That's from the agency, and then she would have the kid for you, and then you would have the kid that she had placed into her. There's also a traditional surrogacy, which is the surrogate mother is a donor and a carrier. So she would donate some of her sperm, and the father from the relationship would donate some of his sperm, and that would create a baby. So there are technical difficulties with that there, because a lot of people tend to start to argue, because when they do end up having the baby, you fall in love with it. You carry it for 9 months, you care for it, you care for your own body, you care for the baby, and then you finally have it, and you know that it's part yours. So people do have legal rights to that, because they can say that it's theirs, because it is from their own sperm. So that's a big issue nowadays too. When people have the kids, they end up wanting to keep them for themselves when it was originally intended for the surrogate couple. So that's why you have to go to a really good agency who has all the different documents drawn up and all the signatures. That way there's no discrimination against anything. Like I said, there's a lot of strife that can be caused because of that between the biological and the carrier. But what they do at this agency for the embryos is they freeze the embryos. So they can take sperm from different people and create embryos, so technically babies, and then they just freeze them and use them whenever they want, or they can freeze them and do experiments on them to help further medical education or medical, like in the medical field to help cancer things. So they just, that's the one thing where it kind of starts to veer off is when you have the embryos, I feel like God intended it for those to be created into babies, not to be experimented on or to be frozen until time is ready. Like, God's timing is perfect, and it's not meant for us to be freezing them or to be experimenting on them. The thing is, like, when you freeze the babies, is that morally ethical? Is that what you think? So it's just like when you come down to it, it's all up to like your decision. Do you think that's okay? Like, are you gonna feel guilty about that, or are you gonna feel okay about that in the end? So some couples may end up happily when they go through surrogacy, and some couples may hit some bumps and along the road. But I mean, it's all up to their decision. We could be a donor by using our body, or either like donating sperm or embryos of our own to the agencies or anything like that. I prefer to not even participate in it. Surrogacy is one of those things where it's on the line of being morally ethical and biblically correct. I just don't think freezing the embryos is okay, and if there's anything that I would donate or I would do to participate in that, in freezing babies and freezing babies until they are experimented on, I don't think it's okay. So that's all I have to say, is I just don't think it's morally ethical, because being experimented on and having them frozen is not okay.